Good afternoon to you, Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion. It is Monday, June 22nd, 2020, and with it being Monday, that means we are going to have a more lengthy discussion today. We're going to go over more than just a look at the tropics, so just letting you know about how things work around here. If you're just tuning in to my channel on YouTube or watching this on Facebook, Mondays are the day when we kind of expand and we try to broaden our knowledge about what's happening, maybe some newsworthy events, etc. And so just letting you know. But we will start at the beginning with what's going on in the tropics, if that's what you're here for, and then you want to leave after that. Hey, no problem. That's the good thing about video on the internet, is you can do with it as you please. So our first stop here will be the Eastern Pacific, where 4 areas, yep, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of interest over the next 5 days. I am most concerned about these 2 areas right here. We are entering this entering the era. We are entering a phase. It's not quite an era. That's more of a long-term thing. But we're entering a phase of what's called a convectively coupled Kelvin wave. This energy that's going to be moving through the Eastern Pacific and eventually over into the western parts of the Atlantic Basin. This brings additional moisture, a reduction in shear, an increase in what we call low-level vorticity, and just an overall fairly short-term uptick in a favorable background state. That's a good way to look at what these convectively coupled Kelvin waves are. It's just a fancy meteorological term, and for you and me, it means that, yes, things are going to start to get busy, but more than likely in the Eastern Pacific, with maybe a little bit of a chance of something getting going in the Atlantic Basin. We'll take a look at the prospects of that as we go forward. But I'm most concerned about these areas right here because they could have an impact on Mexico. Remember, HurricaneTrack is not just about Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf systems. We keep an eye on what's happening in the Eastern Pacific for our friends in Mexico, even in the desert Southwest up here when you get these hurricanes that develop and come in and bring moisture. I have been out there a few times over my career studying the impacts of tropical cyclones in Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. So it's getting busy, and we'll have something to track before too long. In the Atlantic, National Hurricane Center just now updating this 40% chance of Invest Area 95L, I believe it is. They're saying that shower and thunderstorm activity associated with a well-defined low-pressure system has become better organized today. The low is moving slowly eastward over the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. And if recent development trend continues, then a short-lived subtropical depression or subtropical storm could form later today or tonight. It is expected to weaken as it moves over cold waters by late Tuesday. Not going to be a problem. Probably won't even send any kind of swells or whatever back to the coast, so don't really worry about that. It's just a novelty, and we'll look at this on satellite in just a moment. First of all, before we do that, a quick look at sea surface temperature anomalies. It's got to slow down. A lot to go over today. The signal here in the Eastern Pacific remains the same with this cold neutral pattern set up. The main development region, very warm. The waters up here in the northeastern parts of the Atlantic, the tropical Atlantic especially, also quite warm compared to average. And for the most part, we are running at about 0.4 Celsius above in the Atlantic main development region, so almost a half a degree Celsius. And across the tropical Pacific, about 0.3 on the negative side. And you say, well, man, that's nothing. And I brought a glass of water to just do a quick demonstration. And it also keeps me hydrated. So this is from my zero water filter that I've got in the fridge to filter out the water. Trying to limit the bottled water use anyway. And this water coming out of the refrigerator is cold. You can see there's some condensation on the glass. If I were to warm this up 0.4, I probably should drink some because I got some African dust going on in here. If I were to warm this up 0.4 Celsius, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. In fact, I know I couldn't. If I cooled it off 0.3 Celsius, negative, again, wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But this is a very small vessel of water, so to speak, a small container of water. And so that increase in heat, and remember heat is energy, is negligible in that tiny, tiny glass of water compared to the vastness of the Atlantic Basin, as an example. Comparatively speaking, the Pacific's obviously a much larger basin, but on the whole, if you take that rectangle that I just outlined there and you warm that up 0.4 Celsius, the amount of additional energy spread out over that large area becomes incredibly important compared to just a small increase of my glass of water. Cheers. So there you go. There's your lesson today in a little bit of thermodynamics there. So it doesn't seem like much, 0.4 on the positive, 0.3 on the negative, but it is a big deal when you're talking about energy. It really, really is. And so there you go. Still running, nothing's looking much different, put it that way. The warm signal here in the Atlantic, the cold signal here in the Pacific. Busy times ahead. That's the bottom line. What about actual sea surface temperatures? Well, in the Gulf of Mexico, very warm after the passage of Tropical Storm Cristobal that came up here. Water temperatures have rebounded for the most part. Still, if we go back to that anomaly map real quick, just a tad below the long-term average right there in the central part of the Gulf. I don't think that's really related too much to Cristobal any longer. Nevertheless, water temperature is very warm in the Gulf, 29, almost 30 degrees Celsius up against the shelf water of the peninsula. All along the central Gulf Coast, 29 to almost 30 Celsius. I mean, we're talking mid to upper 80s, which is no surprise. It's always warm in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's no exception this year. All right, moving on along. Here's the satellite view of a good deal of the Western Hemisphere. Lots of interesting things going on here. Invest area 95L. We'll take a close-up look at this in a moment. Some thunderstorm activity over the deep south. Tropical air mass. So you get some tropical thunderstorms. Saharan Air Layer dominating this region. I'll take a close look at that in a moment. And then this is all of the energy that I'm talking about, this convectively coupled Kelvin wave gradually moving its way from west to east across the southeastern Pacific here, and it will eventually spill over into the Atlantic Basin. We'll just have to wait and see if anything comes of it. But these are our areas, an area here, an area here, here, and here. And I think we're going to get 2 or 3, maybe 4 named storms and probably a couple of powerful hurricanes to develop out of this cluster here in the Southeast Pacific. And like I said before, yes, Mexico counts. I mean, duh. It's got hurricane. Listen to that bad grammar. Mexico has hurricane problems, okay? So I'm not just Atlantic Basin centric. And again, I'll emphasize, if you're here just for what's happening in the Atlantic, there's nothing happening in the Atlantic. And so go ahead and check out, and you can go watch something else on YouTube. That's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. But we're going to focus on the bigger picture here. And we do have people that watch this down in Mexico, Central America. And I am concerned that one of these systems could get pulled north enough. And the reason is, let's change this color scheme here to yellow. Actually, we'll use the purple. We're going to develop a pretty big heat ridge sitting over this part of the country coming up. A big blocking fat dome of hot air. And conversely, we're going to have this trough set up. Let's move me out of the way just for a second. Move me over there. We're going to get kind of a trough pattern out here in the west. Bad way of drawing it, but that's the idea. And that weakness over here in the west will allow these systems to turn more north towards Mexico. Baja, Acapulco, Zihuatanejo, those areas, all right? Manzanillo. So we got to keep an eye on these systems. Yes, Mexican hurricanes can be a problem. It's not like they are. In fact, the strongest hurricane ever recorded before it made landfall was Patricia in 2015, in case you needed reminding of that. All right, so let's zoom in on some of the, almost vorticity. First of all, the largest tropical cyclone symbol that you've ever seen, right there, looks like a big S, or the tropical storm symbol. That's in Vest Area 95L, and as you can see, it is trying to consolidate that energy, but look, it's broad. Look how large an area that encompasses. That's that subtropical magic doing its work there. It's not bundled and concentrated. That's going to happen down here. These areas of energy down here, those are going to bundle and concentrate, and we're going to get a hurricane or two to develop out of that. All right, now we can zoom in. This is Invest Area 95L, way off the coast of Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, right over here. Large circulation. If it was August, this would already be a tropical storm, but it's not August. The water temperatures are marginal. The Gulf Stream running up through here somewhere, and it'll increase its organization and convection a little bit. And in fact, there's a few thunderstorms developing near the center. The center's obviously right in here somewhere. And on those last frames, right there, a little bit of pop-up convection. You see a little bit of lightning showing up in here. This product from the weathernerds.org website. And so, this may get named, and if it does, it'll be Dolly. But it's not going to be a problem. And no, it's not a waste of a name. It's a legitimate potential to become a subtropical storm. Subtropical meaning more of a hybrid mix of a nor'easter kind of deal and a tropical storm, a mutt, if you will. All right, so there's that. GFS out to the next several days. We're going to take a look at, let's change the color scheme here. There's Southern California, Baja Peninsula. There's Mexico. You understand? There's your geographic lesson for today. Move this out into time, 24 hours right there. And look, you can see clearly all these different pieces of energy down here. The GFS analyzing a low center there, a low center there, another one there. Watch how this evolves over time. And yeah, we still, we start to get a little bit more action going here. So within 48 hours, probably a couple of weak tropical cyclones over to the west on the left side of the plot. And then by 96 to 120, there you go. More of those systems start to develop closer to Mexico over here. And we're going to have to watch and see if these get pulled up north enough to affect Mexico directly. It's, but they're going to be out there, put it that way. So this is the next several days. Again, we'll go back to the time right now and move this out. A lot of activity there, but you notice nothing really coming together over here on the Atlantic Basin side of things. And just to kind of show you that real quick, if we broaden the scope out to the Western Atlantic, same kind of thing. We look over the next, this is at the beginning here. Wait for my internet to catch up. All right, there's the beginning. Move this out into time. You don't really see much, just, there's one little tropical wave that goes through there at about hour 78 or so. See it down there in the Caribbean? Otherwise, it's the Saharan Air Layer that is definitely capturing all the attention. And so this is the part where we move into more news topics and other things like that. So this little blog update, I saw this on Ryan Maui's Twitter feed, Dr. Ryan Maui. The Saharan dust layer, the Saharan Air Layer, big news lately. It's one of the most impressive outbreaks of the last 50 years, no doubt about it. Incredible. Wait till I show you an example, a live example that's going to blow you away. So see, if you stuck around to watch this part of the video, you're in for a real treat. So Ryan's talking about this Saharan dust layer today in his blog, if I can get me to go away. And you can see it from space. There it is on this nice visible true Earth, or whatever they call it, view of the planet. Saharan Air Layer comes off Africa from the African Easterly Jet. This is what it looks like from the NASA GEOS. It's funny because you have the GOES and then you have the GEOS. All sorts of different data sets that produce these animations. And this will eventually end up And it's funny, too, because it goes clockwise. These things rotate like that. And the dust will end up over parts of the Deep South and beyond. So some great sunsets coming up, perhaps. Ryan talks about Invest 95L. I like this because we can take a look at the Gulf Stream shot and get an idea of where it's located. Right now, 95L currently in here. Water temperature is 24, 25 Celsius. So, yeah, it might develop a little further. All right, this is just amazing. Close-up shot here, courtesy of weathernerds.org. All of this milky color that you see, come on, all through here, that is the Saharan Air Layer, the dust that's overspread anywhere from Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up through the windwards, the leewards, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, now getting into Jamaica, the Greater Antilles, and beyond. Incredible. It really is. The remarkable journey of this warm, particulate-laden air mass from the desert, the Sahara Desert of Africa, blown out over the Atlantic, thousands of miles away, ending up eventually over Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, who knows, maybe parts of the Deep South and the Southeast, Florida included. Really, really remarkable. Now this is your treat for the day. Really, really cool what we can do with technology. It's great that we can track it on satellite, but we have, through our crowdfunding and our Patreon support, a network of cameras. It's a small network, but we're getting there. It's not quite EarthCam or Weather Underground. Are they even? I think they're gone now. I don't even know. But we're developing a little network of cameras, and this is hosted down in St. John in the Cruz Bay area in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And this is what it looked like around this time exactly on Friday. Okay? So watch this. That's Friday. This is what it looks like right now. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Wow. Let's do it again because that's really cool. I have to just I'm just amazed at this. So there we are, Friday. And you can have a picture, and I know it's hard to see stuff moving, but look, there's trees moving there. This is live video. This is archived, obviously. This is Friday, and again, here's what it looks like right now. Live, a live look. As I am recording this, this is happening in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We have another camera that does the same thing over in St. Thomas. I'll show you that one real quick. This is what it looks like today. Let's go to Friday. This is Friday. Kind of milky skies just from the way the camera is facing on Friday. But then today, this one faces north. The dust was so thick there that our host there, Timothy, sent me a video last night that you could actually see the dust look like sprinkles of Tinkerbell fairy dust in the air. Literally, you could see the dust falling out of the sky. That's how thick it is. Really, really impressive to see this. Another incredible comparison. This was very popular on Twitter. Our good friend, Facebook friend, Mirko Farrow, down in St. Bartolome. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. I'm going to meet that guy one day. He sent us some great stuff during Irma, and I credit keeping his rear end alive. Go watch the 2017 Tracking the Hurricanes, and you'll see. So Mirko survived Irma, thanks to me and his common sense, and he's able to provide these pictures. This was from March the 8th, the top picture, and then yesterday. Wow. So one more down from Antigua, another Irma survivor, although Irma didn't impact Antigua as hard. This is from Daniela, and the skies down there just, eek. I mean, look at that. You can just barely make out the sun right there. Well, I've screwed that up, but you see the idea. There's the sun, and it's some of the pictures it looks like Mars, depending on where the sun angle is, and the rest of them, it's just sort of that filtered, milky, weird Instagram filter look. The bottom line, though, a very big news event for weather geeks. And you know what? With all the negativity going on in the world, and there's plenty of it, it's kind of neat to geek out on this. That's the way I look at it. One more thing you can geek out on. I want to show you this because this is a big deal, and it's getting bigger. If you are a patron, the new series we're working on, The Hurricane Highway, it's an episodic docu-series. It's not a 2-hour movie. It's a TV series, basically, and I'm producing it. Episode 4 just dropped. It's all about the weather balloon. We actually have 5 episodes, but I finished 5 before I finished 4. We now have 5 total episodes, including the Dorian episode. If you become a patron, this is what you have access to. In addition, there's me. I am bringing 360-degree immersive virtual reality video to Patreon first. We will eventually share it to the general public. Thanks to our support, I was able to purchase a GoPro Max, and I demonstrated it down at Wrightsville Beach recently. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Absolutely amazing.
All right, everybody.
Look at that.
Welcome to the future. This is going to be incredible.
I mean,
Something
come
for
on.
our patrons only for the time being.
Look at that.
360.
I know this has been
virtual
around. Let
reality
me mute me. I know this has been around for 5 years. I get that. But I haven't been able to afford. I had an old, I can't remember who made it. It was like an older version of a 360 camera. But the Hero Max right here, this thing is how you do that. And this is funded because of our patrons. They supported this. And we're going to be able to do some incredible things with it. I mean, look at this. It's like I couldn't believe it. And I know I'm late to the party here. You guys that are into gaming, you're like, come on, man. This has been around for 5 years plus. My son has an Oculus Quest. And I viewed this in his Oculus, and oh my gosh, it was like I was there again, especially with the immersive audio. It captures 360-degree surround sound audio as well. This is what we're doing on Patreon, all right? It's not just a membership or a subscription. It is this immersive technology showing you the weather in ways that are just unbelievable. And you guys are the ones that are funding it. I mean, look at that. You can scroll down. You can scroll up. I'm just, wow. So we're going to take this. I'm going to try to purchase a couple more of these as our Patreon support grows. And we're going to put these in the hurricanes this year and bring you hurricanes literally like you have never seen them before. We've always done that using the unmanned cameras, the weather balloon project, and now 360-degree immersive video, and it's all because of you folks here on Patreon. And I realize not everybody can support the project, because it does take money. This is a big project. It takes big money, but just $1. If 25% of my total social media following pledged $1 a month. I hate that word pledge, but that's what they call it. Supported it, whatever, the cooperative. Wow. You wouldn't, it would just be like, and look at what we're doing. We'll put it that way. I'm grateful for what we've got, but the goal is to grow this 3 or 4 times this size, hire a staff, literally hire a staff, and I've already got a short list of who I would hire, and create basically the modern era of online weather, geography, hurricanes, blizzards, storms, flooding, a big weather world all wrapped up into one, and it's all on the internet, completely ad-free, completely supported by our patrons. And we're almost there. We're getting there. Look at what we've done. So I wanted to just kind of revisit that and show you what we've been doing and entice you, hopefully, to become a part of it. The link to sign up is in the description of today's video, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. Of course, I'm also on Twitter, @HurricaneTrack. That's the brand. YouTube.com/HurricaneTrack. Facebook as well. And that's about it. Instagram, no Snapchat, no TikTok. Sorry. I can only handle so much. But you're more than welcome to share what we do on those platforms. That's fine. Hey, look, thanks for sticking around. I told you it was a lengthy one, but I think it's worth it because we've covered a lot. And the dog agrees. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. I sincerely appreciate you tuning in as always. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with a much shorter version tomorrow.